How's it going, everybody? It's Man Smart here. I want to thank you guys for coming through. Give people a couple minutes to come in so that way we can go over this particular topic. Because been asked a question, and you kind of have a back and forth with people online. But just upon thinking about the conversation, once the conversation was over with, there's a long line that we have to kind of go through to kind of make sure that we can be able to have this conversation. Because I understand that people want to think the worst thing that can ever happen is these personnel who's online. But there's a pattern here that you got to be able to recognize. And a lot of people don't understand that the questions that they ask, they know the answer to it, but they don't actually want to own up to where they're at in this actual framework here. And there's a reason why a lot of people have actually come here, but no one wants to actually have the actual discussion without trying to be a victim of it themselves. So let's give people a couple minutes to come in. Make sure you like the video upon coming in so that way we can be able to get going. Make sure you hit the like button upon coming in. Yeah, what's going on, Cedric Webb? What's going on, man? We're going to wait one more minute, and then we're going to keep going here. All right, got 30 more seconds. All right, let's get started. Let's get started. Pass to the top. All right, let's get started here. Okay. You've got to understand that what goes on online, like, I don't believe in the actual idea that people are here for entertainment reasons. I don't buy that. I think the people who these people hang around is an actual extension of who they honestly are, period. They just don't want to take responsibility for it, right? That's what that overall issue is. And a lot of people don't understand that you don't spend real time in a fake place and for reasons to where you don't know why you're here, right? So for the first group of individuals that I would name, it's the actual people who uphold the current system that's here. I'm talking about the men here. Because the women, it doesn't really matter. They're the actual ones who benefit from it. But it's overall the men who actually keep it going. Because when you go to like strong cultural systems and societies, there is no men who sit around who are unaccomplished, who have all these complaints about society, who can't wait to put these actual issues on the other people. That doesn't happen in society, man. That doesn't happen at all that much in society. It doesn't. So what happens when you bring a bunch of unprincipled personnel online and you can't really get the truth out because everybody's trying to run a business based off of the current brokenness of the current setup that we have in the system here, right? People know right from wrong. And these things can be actually set up as one of three things. They are either ahistorical, apolitical, afactual, and they're here to make money off of the actual system itself, right? So they judge morality based off of the amount of people that you can attract and stagnate. That's what principle is, or what principle has become when you come online. Hey, what's going on, okay? Hold on a second. I need to address Gay Bay real quick. What's going on, Sage Outcast? Now, there was no real reason for him to do that, but he did do that this morning. There's no real reason for me to know your actual name, but he did do that. So let's go to this. Now, people don't understand that your outcomes is your responsibility. If you don't know what's going on politically in your area, that's a you problem. Like, I don't understand how we get so many people who live in these Chicagos, these St. Louis's, these Kansas Cities, Baltimore's, Detroit's, blah, 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 across the country. But for some reason, you know these places are economic centers. So I don't understand how you have all these black conservatives who don't vote, who don't understand anything about the political process, who have really not taken a side, who actually don't even know the history of conservatism but want to actually associate themselves with it for some reason. That's a problem. When you have apolitical individuals who complain about a particular political party as if bringing people up to speed on politics is going to help them understand politics. Now, I watch Sage Outcast show every single time it comes on. And you should watch Sage Outcast show. His show is among what's going on, Quiz Prince? Thanks for the $2 super chat. Now, I watch about 4 of these type of shows every day. Poly Politics is one of them. Sage Outcast is the one that's on earliest in the morning. And every time he talks to people online about very simple issues after he's laid down factual information, people want to walk up to a very specific conversation and pretend like, 1, the host isn't talking, 2, he's not citing factual information, or 3, they don't know the reason why they support one group of people over another. Again, ahistorical. I don't understand how do you have grown adults who live in these areas who don't understand what is going on in society. But if you ask them about baseball or football or basketball or hockey or track and field or everything else, they could tell you multitudes of people who've graduated from what school. They could tell you all that stuff. But when it comes to politics in their personal environment, they can't tell you anything. And not only can they not tell you anything, They come to a specific political conversation to pretend like they need for you to bring them up to speed on what is actually happening within the environment, their environment, which is the country. That's why I'm up here. Those are some of the worst individuals that come online. I don't know what they're doing here for the most part, but every time you ask them simple questions, you can provide as much facts as you want to, and then just pretend like you're not even talking. Oh man. I would put it on the screen, but I'm not gonna put your whole name on the screen like that, Gabe. No, it's in Obsidian's newsletter. It's in Obsidian's newsletter. I think it's that he sends out every day. Those individuals, and there seems to be a lot of those individuals, those ahistorical personnel and apolitical personnel online, and it's just a real problem because you can't have a structured conversation about anything in this society where you're the only one who has to talk from a factual standpoint. How can you clearly talk about, because most of these disagreements online are it's because people don't know the history and don't understand it and don't really care about it, and they only enter the conversation to shut down the actual conversation itself. And if you try to call them out on it, they got a business to run. They have to be able to survive in society. So you can't, get in place of another person's business. Yuck, yuck, yuck. That kind of nonsense, right? That's the ahistorical, the apolitical, afactual piece. Because there's a lot of people who have undiagnosed mental illness online that's dressed up like learning disabilities or character flaws when they're just clearly just undiagnosed individuals who's allowed to just interact with other people online. They allow these people to jump on panels and to rabble rouse and do a whole bunch of crazy stuff that's unneeded because people think that panel moderation is a way of taking the quote unquote fun out of the actual discussion and conversation. And they let these disruptive individuals just run rampant on panels. Now, when I bring Stanley Cross on next week, we're going to go over a piece that he went over where he was attempting to try to have a conversation with personnel. And then again, it was derailed and disrupted by, personnel who wasn't even up to speed on the actual information. Now, I'm not saying that I blame the women for this, but the women are an actual big part of this next piece that I'm about to bring up. Oh yeah, those panel bounties are crazy. That's how you shut down progress for actual profit. That a person could just pay some amount of money and they could just derail any conversation that they want to because they want to keep it based on actual entertainment. I think that's wholly crazy, right? So now let me get to these women online, right? The women online who set up these simp stations online, some of the worst individuals on the planet. We're talking about married women who set up simp stations so they can be worshiped by dudes that they would never talk to in real life, from dudes that they would even speak to in real life. And they just sit there and want to be loved on by random dudes. Dude, I would never allow my wife online to be talking to a bunch of randos on the internet and they just have access and to talk to her. That's crazy. And look, most of these women have chosen these type of dudes over actual productive families. And you have to understand how easy it is to pick these type of dudes. They're literally everywhere. These people have been socially inclined to think that they are to sit here and just cup run over one man after the next, after the next. Oh, I love your voice. I love this. I can't do this without you in the morning. I'm like, oh my God, what is going on here? What's going on? No, oh, no. I'll just talk about an overall thing. I'll name names, but I really don't really try to interact with women online, or at least not all that much, because most of them just don't have enough sense of character to like shut down BS conversations, right? And that's why I just find it hard to interact with them online, because I'm culturally have checked out on that specific sort of thing, right? Another group of women is like I've never clicked on any video of hers, but I see her as one of the top channels of people who subscribe to me, like Pink Pill Lessons. I don't care what the Pink Pill lesson is or anything else like that. None of that stuff matters. If you need to go to a woman to listen to what you think is red pill information, the problem isn't the woman. The problem is you. And yes, these dudes are infinitely easy to take advantage of. Why? Because they don't know how to interact with women in real life. So the money that they would be spending on actual women if they interacted with them is now being sent in super chat money with these dudes hanging out with men online during proper women chasing hours and the actual women that they're never going to get access to online. Look, most of this stuff at this point is a character issue. It's a character issue. Now, most of these men actually thought that it was just the women who are attracted to men online that ain't going anywhere. That's not the case. A lot of these men with no experience is attracted also to these men online whose life is not going anywhere. That's my next group of personnel. Remember, like in the 1980s and I'm in my 40s. There was people like in the 1980s and 1990s who clearly lived off of women. That was their highest watermark in life, was living off women. And they thought that people who went to school and got a degree were clowns. They thought that people who went out and got a career was clowns. They thought that, look, I'm getting everything that you get right now. And it's like those same type of men, they're online right now. And look, people want to be around somebody like that. I don't care about reformed criminals. I'm trying to figure out why you're online telling me about your prison experience. I don't like these prison dudes online. I can't stand them. They're telling you all these stories about all these prison stories, and people are just eating it up. And it's like, dude, do you realize that that person will lie to you, will say anything to you because they have no level of principle? If a person's online telling you that they used to be in prison, and they're telling you about these schemes and all this stuff that they've been through before, and it's like, what is going on here? And it's like, people send me these links. I'm like, dude, I would never, I listen to it. I'm like, why am I even listening to this dude? And it's more an indictment on the character of the person who sent me the actual thing, not the actual person, right? Because people don't understand how you make your money is going to lock you out of a lot of rooms in life. I don't mind telling you, I'm in the transportation industry with a heavy emphasis on the military industrial complex. I am not bringing nobody around me that has no level of principle, no level of knowing how to act. I'm not bringing those dudes around. And I'm definitely not creating any type of content to keep those dudes around. I think those dudes are acceptable losses. But at the end of the day, a lot of people have connected themselves to acceptable losses online. My next group of people, that I think are far worse than people in the Black Manosphere. It's these travel dudes. These Floyds, these Jay Rillos, these Austin Hollemans. Listen, man, at the end of the day, it ain't the women at this point. If you didn't have access to women, you so-called travel to meet better groups of women. You can't keep redating the same group of better women year after year after year and making these unsubstantiated claims that it's still women from the previous environment. Remember, you moved on to quote-unquote better women. So how are you still apathy mining these dudes with no experience talking about how other women act everywhere else? Once you start making your private dating life a public statement, it becomes political at that point. No, I don't respect people who go off and do that. I don't respect it at all. I don't need to. But then again, it's a character-based flaw with personnel who actually think that they can support that type of stuff. What's going on, Sheik? And then turn around and say that, oh, nothing ever works in the manosphere. I'm like, listen, your idea of what you think the manosphere is or what the actual manosphere is two different things. It doesn't matter where you go online. If you say Black Manosphere, the first thing that comes to your mind is Kevin Samuels. You don't know how to do research. And even when you bring these Delta Novembers up to speed on what the actual Black Manosphere is, because I talk about people that's way before me, they don't even acknowledge it. They don't acknowledge it at all. You want to know why? They want to build a platform based off of incompetent men, because that's another group of people too. The people who want to act like they don't know we're decent human beings that are online. So they have to interview all of these F-boys online until they get to decent human beings, right? They have no regard for factual information, no regard for actual history. They don't bother checking up on what these people actually say, nor do. They just want to, quote unquote, have the conversation. I'm like, dude, I've been here 13 years. We have had the conversation on everything. There is no need for, you name them. There's no need in keeping having bottom barrel conversations online, trying to, quote unquote, grow the audience based off of stagnant men. I have a very heavy disregard for those individuals too. Because a lot of people have stolen the intellectual property of the Black Manosphere, the worst parts of it. And then they just represented it to a new argument, when the only thing that they've done is just stolen the intellectual property of the space and just presented it to new people as if it's their stuff. It's not your stuff. I'm not Manosphere, but I'm going to do Manosphere-related things, but I don't like nobody in the Manosphere type people. Listen. Successful people with marriages are not online talking about their own marriage that works. I can't talk about my stuff that works. You want to know why? People don't want to even do the work to actually attract a woman. They want to use game to attract a woman, try to poach a woman off the actual carousel. She's not interested in family. He ain't interested in family or anything else. Don't care about outcomes, and boom, we got what we got right now. And then you got people with failed outcomes. I'm talking about child support dudes. I'm talking about, I got custody of my kids, dudes, and all that kind of stuff. They're still heavy in the relationship market, minding people for their apathy when they're only talking to people who don't have experience. How is it that you have men with no experience with relationships talking to failed men who have improper experience? How do you have those two individuals coming online interacting with each other? You wouldn't even have that in your actual community. But again, that's the character flaw situation. Because a lot of these people don't really understand that neglect can give you an unearned sense of entitlement. Neglect. Like these people who complain about boomers. But they came online and they supported Kevin Samuels. They came online and they supported all of this relationship talk. But they wanted to complain about boomers when they never had any experience with the boomers that they complained about. But then these people came online and they became worse than boomers. These people came online and they became worse than boomers. Yes, they came online and supported all the wrong people, trying to make things even worse than what it is, when the only thing that you're not is you're not a working class person who got your stuff together, who can financially move. I don't know anybody who fit that mold who have a problem dealing with women if they want to actually deal with women. I'm not talking taking your dumb ass on the popular balloon show and expect to be treated with some level of respect. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about actually interacting with people in actual society. Because if you are a working class person, you should have absolutely no problem finding other individuals to interact with. Unless you're trying to pick people from the previous environment that you shouldn't be messing with in the first place. Again, there's a lot of working class people with a lot of flawed character online. A lot of. Ahistorical, apolitical, I'm just here for entertainment, but you're going to spend real time on people who are clearly not entertainers. Nonsense. That's what that is. I mean, it's easy to point out BGS and the 24-hour Delta November network. It's easy to point that out. It's easy to point out the AB medias. It's easy to point out the art installs. It's easy to point out, and now we seem to have this age of where you have educated BS artists online, like Jeff St. James and Tia Johnson. And all of these people with actual credentials coming online, apathy mining, clearly lost men, not really showing them the way. Because here's the thing. Most people in academia are not voting. They're not trying to move the actual thing forward in any shape, way, form, or fashion. Like me, it's very hard for me to trust someone who's middle of the road, who's third party, who's in academia. It's hard for me to actually trust those actual individuals. Very hard. Because at the end of the day, if you know how to do research, if you have an advanced degree, and you have zero criticism for what goes on in society, and the only thing you can do is leave all the problems in place and find these flowery language to dress up male failure, then you're as big of a problem than most of these things in society. How can you have Dr. Tia Johnson come up with an 18-point agenda, political agenda? He never told nobody he was third party in a state of California to which he actually lives at, when he can easily get a lot of that political stuff off if he wanted to. But somehow flat blackness is the problem. And here's the thing about these educated types. They push out BS on the actual populace. They don't push this BS on their sons at home. Oh, no. Flat blackness is for people who are already giving up in life, who need flowery language for their actual failure. I keep saying this. Men who expect pity. Why do you want pity and people to look at you as you're weak? Another group of people that's far worse than the Manosphere is those educated boys themselves. Flat blackness is his term. Nobody asked him to go to school to be a trained feminist. Nobody asked you to go and be in academia for 20 plus years. Nobody asked you to do any of that. You did that on your own. And I can guarantee you, if you were to talk about your father or your grandfather figure, you would never talk about you came from a long line of people who went to school to study feminism. That is a personal failure yourself. And I'm sorry, we don't have a whole bunch of you are not the father as kids in this space. We don't have those here. Your life itself should be an indictment on the things that was right, the things that was wrong, and the place you are headed in society. That's your responsibility. If you are complaining about being handed a better start by quote unquote boomers, then you really need to tell me how you explain. You really need to explain how you get that better start when you're 25 plus years old. How do you get that better start? How do you get different parents? How do you get that stuff from an ahistorical, apolitical, afactual standpoint? How do you get that when you don't understand the country or where you're from? So you can't tell me that you are a high producing individual, but you still got these complaints about mythical boomers that you can't even point to. Listen, man, it's okay. A lot of people had it bad in the origin department, me included. But look, I still had no plans on remaining in Mississippi past graduation. I was told to get up out of there by coaches, by my grandfather, by my father, most teachers. Everybody was making sure that you was up out of there. And the people who wanted to do more than what that environment actually entailed did get out of there. If not by graduation, they did a couple years afterwards. And once we took our work ethic to another environment, we was pretty much fine. Because it wasn't our actual work ethic. It was the fact that we didn't have access to opportunity. No job training. Dude, we didn't even have a car when it came down to high school. Look, my parents made a horrible decision in not having insurance. My father ended up dying at a very early age, and then grandparents slowly died after that. Look, there's a lot of things that I had to learn, but never would I turn around and blame my father or my mother for not handing me a turnkey vehicle success with cash business down to me. Dude, if you would have handed me that in high school, I never would have left. I never would have went to the military. I never would have learned how to deal with people. That would have limited my actual growth a lot remaining in those type of environments. Coming online and trying to apathy mind other people with failed starts, I can't stand those personnel either. There's a lot of men online who do not know how to basically problem solve. Most of the inability to problem solve is a character issue. It's a character issue. And when you mix that character issue with being apolitical and ahistorical, you are an actual monster unto yourself. When you have all three of those things together, you're not going to be attracted to environments that work. You're not going to be attracted to environments that progress. You're not going to be attracted to environments that talk about things of substance. You're not going to be attracted to any of that. Why? Entertainment is what you're primed for. Things not moving is what you're primed for in these actual environments where you have all three of that. That's what I'm saying. Those are the people, these people who give out this Wall Street advice or talking about crypto, these ratchet or hood crypto dudes. Insanity. People were talking about crypto when I went home for my 20-year class reunion. We're talking about the outside the liquor store trying to holler at every black woman in the world ass dudes who never left the community talking about how they had crypto. Talking about Bitcoin. Knowing damn well these dudes haven't left the city limits. These dudes probably unbanked and everything else. Again, a lot of these broken individuals came online to support these people. Because a lot of these people came online to build leverage, not power. Let me tell you how building leverage works. A lot of these people do not want to take responsibility for the fact of the environments to where they put themselves in. They would rather sit and be a quiet audience member in a 900 firm live stream going nowhere than to actually speak up in the live stream of substance. You can't help those people. Those people did not come online for help. Those people came online for a family. They came online for a family to be stuck with. That's what they came here for. And then the leverage that they build is, I don't want to acknowledge that there is different information. I just wanted to acknowledge to the fact that you ain't entertaining enough for me to follow. So I'm like, all right, man, do you still fail? Oh, well, you can't be okay with us failing. I'm like, look, if you're okay with being ahistorical and apolitical, I can be okay with you failing. I cannot consider you human. Because human beings are supposed to do better when they're given updated information. But a lot of these people have a hard drive that cannot record new information inside their head. They have a hard drive that cannot record new information. They can't adjust their path for nothing else in the world. That's why I say the online audience, not really the Manosphere itself, it exposes the actual character of people who come here. It exposes the character of people who come here. Because here's the thing. When I was scything down these dating coaches, I had 800 people in here. The moment I started talking about progress, 20. The moment somebody pointed out to me that I was a bigger problem than the actual dating coaches by going back and forth with them, I stopped doing the content. I'm not going to lie. Doing that type of content did net me about $3,500 a month in super chat money. I'm talking about after taxes. I know to some people, illicit Delta November money is better than a real job. But once I had it pointed out to me that these same people are actually still subscribed to Ron Wills. These people are still actually subscribed to, what was this dude's name? Who died in some mysterious circumstances in Canada. They still subscribe to him. They still subscribe to a lot of these pro-wax. They still subscribe to all of these entertainers. They still subscribe to all these problems. So once I started looking at the actual analytics and seeing where my audience was actually spending their time outside of my space, I'm like, wait a minute. How is all these people who proclaim that they want success, how would they subscribe to all of these other people? Then I realized the audience was the problem. Yeah, Sin for the Peak. That's what it was. You're right, though. Sin for the Peak. Then I realized, now, it was obvious. I did expect BGS because he was in the space. I did expect Mr. Fantastic because he's in the space. I did expect Ramil Amir because he's in the space. I did expect those three. The other 7, I did not understand at all. And most of them names I didn't even click on. Like the Floyd, the Jay Rillo, the Austin Holloman, like that type of shit. Not interested in that. Not interested in it. No, that's some YN stuff. And a lot of people wanted the YN to be the face of Black America. They did. But they did it with social media. They wanted the unchecked Bravo Alpha November, the YN of tomorrow. They wanted those people to be the face of America, Black America. You want to know why? Because once your face is that low level of character, no one expects anything out of you but entertainment and foolishness. But a lot of these people don't want to be expected of anything. They want to complain about the same woman until they get their chance to engage with her. And I'm sorry, like the people, like like the women complainers online, man. Like I can't really, I can't deal with, I can't tolerate whining ass dudes online. And you know who these dudes OGs are. And I'm sorry, here I have to name names. If you're still listening to Sergeant Willie Pete, you need to check into a hospital. If you're still listening to Angry Man, you need to check into a hospital. Okay? Simple. Because if you had a fresh online account and you still got attracted to BS men online that ain't going anywhere, it ain't the fact that people are showing you empathy and sympathy. There's a you problem that's going on here that you are actually denying to acknowledge. Yes. And look, I want people to spend a lot less time trying to preach yourself into the brain stems of these people online. I want you to spend a lot more time knowing what's going on in your society, where you live at, and in your community. That's where it's at. Can't tell you what's going on in other places. I can tell you what's going on in Colorado. Things are working fine in my state. Man, look, they go to TikTok and go invent or find a woman with kids to complain about. They don't even know these women. They go find these women online to complain about. Man, listen. They are looking for their chance. They are looking for their opportunity to end up in that situation. Now, you have to ask yourself, let's be reasonable. What is more shocking? The T-Rexes in wedding dresses or the dudes looking surprised that there's T-Rexes in wedding dresses? It's not hard. The fact that your ass is at the table is the problem, not the women. A lot of people don't want to understand that they one of these. This is what these people are. Angry as hell, apolitical, want to make money off of a broken environment. They just cannot admit that they are what's on the screen. They can't admit it. So now you come online trying to be appreciated by other men. Other men have to actually go around and exhibit masculinity so you can be a part of it because you are what's on the screen. The goal was for you to be working class. The goal was not for you to bring brown collar class. That wasn't your goal. It takes money to do things nowadays. You're trying to be invested in an old system that no longer exists. Listen, I will be mad too if the only way I can interact with women in the world is to come online and pour out a whole bunch of simp attention. I would be mad as hell too. Listen, man. Listen. Listen. Most of my live streams, when I was online, I was driving. In fact, I'm at work now. You know me, I love driving. I love it more than anything in the world. But you got to understand that these people choose those environments because nothing is required of them. This shit. Hey, every time. The minute the criminal justice system enters your relationship, what's going on, Lionel McTow? Hey man, that relationship's over with. That's between you, the government, and her. And man, that relationship over with. Like, you have to understand that you are to show men no sympathy if they have their ass in these environments. Men don't need sympathy. Men need direction. And after men get direction, you move away from it. Because after you give men direction on what to do to have better outcomes, and they still don't follow that information, you have to move along to personnel who are ready. You have to move on to personnel that are ready. And look, these people will climb onto your panel, they will shut down your live stream, and they'll do anything to make sure things remain the same. Like, dude, most of SYSBM is not hanging around other people within the environment. I'm talking about the men. The women ain't that much of a problem. It's other men that cause other men problems. It's other men who can't wait to mislead other men. It's other men with failed outcomes who's trying to minister to actual dudes. And then, like a dummy, they fall for it. They don't understand that these failed men who are giving all this advice about bad things are trying to sign you up to take care of their problems of yesterday. But they're just here for the quote unquote conversation. I'm sorry. You're not working class. I don't want nothing to do with you. I'm sorry. It's better to protect actual Americans who actually want to go and do stuff. Yes. Listen, I've been here 13 years. Okay. Do you know what you can do in 13 years, Fabio? Dude, you can go from associate to a master's to a doctorate, bachelor's, master's, doctorate within 8 years. You can go do an internship 1.5 years, 9 years. That's just in the educational format, 9 years. And yeah, you can still work your way through school and all that. I did. Now imagine if you go get a union job, okay? You start off as an apprentice. You're making, kind of decent money, especially when it comes to other starter jobs. You start moving up that ladder. Think about the actual progress you can make in 8-9 years in one specific job, in one specific career. And I'm not talking about buying microphones with super chat money stupidity. I'm talking about how far you can go. Now, imagine that you are a master teacher who sat in the same space, who lives off of broken black male failure. That's what I'm talking about. Could you imagine, Lionel MGTOW? You can't actually clear your financial milestone unless you reach a certain level of super chat money? Could you imagine that? Hey, Fabio, listen, man. If I don't get another super chat, I'm going to shut this stream down. I'm going to shut it down. and not get paid. If you don't pay me now, I'm going to shut it down so you can't pay me. Hurry up and pay me. Unreal. What's going on, Healthy Heavyweights? What's going on, man? Could you imagine that? You got to wait for a relationship to go wrong. You got to wait for some celebrity to get locked up. You got to wait for somebody to damn near lose their life. You got to wait till Jay Rillo or Floyd get into some more damn trouble so that way you can have something to talk about. You got to wait for Austin Hollywood to get kicked out of another country. You got to wait for something to happen. Bro, I can't live like that, man. I can't rationalize that. And yes, these people ought to be laughed at. 5 more super chats. You know, that's my goal today. Like, dude, your goal is way more than 5 more super chats, bro. Your goal is living off anti-social security, man. That's what these people want to live off of. These people want to live off anti-social security while they're complaining about women on welfare. The same people who are complaining about women on welfare and getting checks from the government is begging for super chat money online. I'm going to repeat that. The same people who don't want women collecting checks from the government are just turning on their live stream to get money from randos online. They want to live off the collective apathy of men in the environment, and they cannot actually afford for things to change. Think about it. BGS and Art Newstall cannot run their 24-hour dumb ninja network if people get their stuff together. They don't need to be alleviated from the things that they get into online if everybody got their stuff together. Most of these people who need to be alleviated from these problems cause their own problems to be alleviated from. They way worse than Manosphere dudes. Way worse. But Goshen, they doing it for a good cause, though. They doing it for a good cause, though. And if you complain about them, you hate. You hate. I've never heard of a rational individual use the word that you're hating. Every time I hear that, I just chuckle to myself, man. People who live off anti-social security are calling people haters because they don't want to let them online panhandle, bro. That's crazy. I'm not unprincipled. It's just my content strategy. I'm not unprincipled. It's just, dolo. This is how I make my money. This is how I live. Bruh, you have to understand this. There are way more damaged people online than can ever be imagined. And these are the individuals who come online like Jay Prince for president. God. I mean, like, where do we get these dudes from in Black America? Like, how do these people end up online? But look, you can sweep it all under the rug under the guise of entertainment. Crazy. Dude, Kevin Samuels was one of the worst individuals that ever happened to people online, man. Everybody was trying to cash in off of these people who didn't know how to act. You had people supporting whole Africans in this pop the balloon nonsense. You know, the same people who claim they FBA had no problem supporting pop the balloon, watching women act a complete whole damn fool in front of qualified men. Unbelievable. And look, people who go on them shows, you can't help them. If that's the only way that you can meet women, by going to that slave auction draft that you ain't going to get drafted in, they don't care if you're a supermodel. You still ain't going to get drafted by those women. Period. It's a humiliation ritual. It's your fault for taking your ass up there. And yes, you deserve to be laughed at, and you deserve no sympathy from anybody if you take your ass up there. Look, you ain't never heard nobody say, look, man, I met my wife, I'll pop the balloon, right? And we have, 2 kids and 2 cars, and look at all the stuff we got, I met my woman on Pop the Balloon show. Never happened. Take your ass up there if you want to. Now they have a male version too. I've seen a couple of clips from a male version, but yeah, essentially. But look, you have to understand, these people are here in large number because they don't have their stuff together, man. This is what America in general. You can't even say it's Black America at this point. There's more whites online who's doing the same thing as blacks are doing the shit online. Now, I don't see Asians actually doing this because their culture is more success based, by the way, which you can easily be like if you choose to. You don't have to raise, you ain't got to be raised in that type of culture. Culture is a choice, like family is a choice. Blood ain't a choice, but family is a choice. And a lot of people that have just chosen otherwise, man. Again, all these people that I just named, you only found these people online. You don't find these people in the real world. You don't. A lot of these people can't afford for things to change, man. And what they don't understand is we literally got exactly where we are now by dudes getting access to the women first. Yeah, the 90s when R&B dudes was being created out of this simp factory called R&B music. They got access to these women, created these kids, never stayed with them. These kids grew up to be the apathetic ones we have in society right now. Listen, man. Stanley, those people do not want to be compared to successful groups of people in society. They don't want to be compared to that. What's going on, Rona? If you have to compare yourself to successful people in society, yeah, that's when the real conversation comes. Okay? Man, you had a lot of people jumping out the window over this pearly things thing, man. I don't think I forgot about that. Once I have enough time, I'm going to sit you down and I'm going to show you all these clips. End of the day, you have to understand that you not being anything is your problem, not another generation's problem. It's your problem. Because the problems that you're trying to put on the boomers, they could turn around and do it to me, Generation X. They could turn around and do it to the people who are complaining. Asking those people, what are you creating for 5 or 6 actual group of people down the line? They can ask you that. And you better come up with an answer. They didn't care, man. They thought that Pearl was going to go before Congress and do things for black boys. Yeah, BGS actually said that. He said that. I got the clip. The video is still up. I have the clip where he actually said that. Too bad Obsidian's gone, but I had to make sure that I went on there where she was on the Obsidian show, watching all these dudes commit harakiri. Crazy. Everybody wanted a piece of that clout. Didn't help anybody. Didn't even help Obsidian. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. Oh, man. Yep. Yep. Her and Nick Fuentes was supposed to provide something within 5 years. He said that 2 years ago. He did say that. But Stanley, listen, man. You know what the actual boomer mindset is? To people who make that boomer argument, you know what the real boomer mindset is, Stanley? The boomer mindset is you ain't handing anything to YNs to mess up. You ain't handing anything to YNs. How come, hands out? How come you ain't handing anything to YNs? Yeah. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Actually, you know what? I'm going to give you guys a treat. I'm going to give you guys a real treat. Because the people of 2053, the actual people of No Black Wealth, they already here. I'm going to give y'all a real treat here. You guys have got to recognize, man, these people have been wrong about everything. I can't find it right now, but maybe I'll find it in a couple minutes. Yeah, but you guys have got to realize, man, like being a loser is your responsibility to not be one. That is your responsibility, is to not be a loser and to not start pointing toward other group of people. I cannot imagine. And look, my grandfather's house was passed down to the oldest son in the family. And when he died, a couple years later, that house is nothing but a lot now. Why? That dude, he was millennial, went to his youngest son. He was still in town. That dude destroyed that house. Less than 2 years. Stayed in it, didn't bother fixing anything on it. City came and tore it down. Am I really supposed to complain that my silent generation grandfather didn't hand me anything? Dude, my grandfather handed me perspective. Perspective. He handed me a foundation, a very strong foundation of not how to end up. And here's the thing. If I wanted to disregard him, I could have. Because it's not about receiving the instruction. That's only one part of it. The other part of it is going to those environments where the instruction would take hold. When I went in the military, I could have easily went around those player, doing all this goofy stuff. Dude, I could have easily done that. I didn't. Why? I didn't want those outcomes. I seen what happened when you got somebody pregnant and your ass ended up in the dorm as a 40-some-year-old dude. Can't afford to live by yourself. You're on meal card. Now you got to babysit a whole bunch of dudes in the actual dorm because you got the wrong couple of people pregnant. Yeah. I saw that outcome. And I had to dodge it. And guess what? These people were trying to give just as much advice about women than these failed men online are trying to give advice about women. The same amount. Not a different amount, the same amount. Trust me. People with bad outcomes are trying to do the exact same thing other people are doing. But that's just where we are at this point. At this point, there ain't nothing wrong with the space. Something's wrong with the place these people end up at. You got to ask yourself, why are you pointing externally for things that is an internal problem? Look, that ain't the only thing. Childhood house of my grandmother happened to the same thing. Went to my oldest brother. He fucked the house off in less than 5 years. Same thing happened with her house too. Am I supposed to complain that my grandmother didn't hand me anything down and she's silent generation? But you don't have to see me coming online complaining about that. And that's something that you got to keep up on. But a lot of people don't know how to long term plan, man. They don't know how to long term plan. They do not know how to long term plan. A lot of people don't even understand that the red pill is designed to keep you single. It's designed that way. It's designed for failed men to teach you how to not appeal to the opposite sex in society so that way you end up hanging out with men and not dealing with women. A lot of people are just coming around to the fact that, don't you think it's kind of obvious that those people are still not dealing with women and you ain't either? You got all this red pill information, but yet you ain't dealt with a woman since you've been red pilled. Yeah. Listen, man. Listen. High school, had my older cousin who was still in the community, dealing with all the, like you know, the personnel that you shouldn't deal with in society, still trying to give out all these hot takes on what to do. Two children out of wedlock, not with her. Being kicked out of everybody's house because he don't work. Game dude. Today, he's still a social security dude in his own place, Section 8, that he doesn't even know is about to get cut by Trump because he don't keep up with politics. Yeah, man, leave him out there. Always talking this craziness about working class people. Crazy. There are a lot of people online that's worse than the black manosphere, man. A lot of people online. I don't even have to go into the BS artists when it comes to education. I don't even have to go there. I don't even have to go there. The people who don't know how to do research are going to other people for education. A lot of these people just want to be paid to be pretty online. That's what I mean about the simp station stuff. About pretty people giving out basic information and they want to be highly compensated because of it. And then they get super pissed off when the actual professional come around and do a review on the actual content, and then it gets blown wide open that they're a fraud. That's it. They didn't want to move on to better inventory because they wanted access to the old inventory. They just wanted low hanging fruit to act like, I don't know, Mary Poppins or something crazy. But here's the thing: none of these dudes would ever want to debate these actual issues. None of them. Again, this stuff is too easy to dodge at this point. It's not a learning disability. It's a logic and reason disability, man. Like, people listen to stuff with logic and reason canceling headphones, man. And they keep threatening to leave. They keep threatening to leave women that don't. You're not up next. Listen, these women is just gonna pick somebody else other than these Delta Novembers. I'm sorry, man. Delta November DNA is going to be on that shelf for a long time. Pretending that you're going to leave when don't nobody want you, that doesn't build leverage. It doesn't. They see you still there. Dick harder than a physics exam. You still claiming like you want to leave. She is holding an infinite bag of dicks, and you're not inside of that, sir. Specific dumb nigga dick versus infinite bag of dicks. Okay, you're not in. You're not in the bag. You're not in the bag. You're not in the bag. Okay, not in the bag. They don't need you. Look, they don't need my ass either. Not hard. Very easy. Super simple. Oh yeah, of course. They're doing it all for them. Look, man, I think people are. I think those women are mentally ill. Them swirlers and divestors, mentally ill. That's some cringe stuff right there. I don't see how people put up with it. I don't see how the person who they married to tolerates it. I don't understand it. It's cringeworthy. I can't deal with it. Yes, they do. They still living in Detroit, Chicago, St. Louis, Baltimore, New York, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin. But they left the Democratic plantation. They only live in the Democratic plantation still. Yeah, of course you left. What's going on, Eric Bird? A lot of people don't understand, man, that look, the world has moved beyond useless men. Useless men complaining online, that's not going to build no leverage for you. Once this stuff is over with, you still going to have to go get your money together. Still. You're still going to have to go get your money together. You're still going to have to learn how to leverage dealing with people in society. And if the only people that you can deal with is being a wallflower in some F-boys chat while he's telling you about game, hey, man, look, I'm just happy you ain't having kids, man. Don't worry about it. Oh, yeah. Same to you, man. But look, people don't even do research on the Manosphere, and then they be shocked and surprised when they actually go to the wrong people in these permanent lawsuits, man. Dude, 2026, don't bother helping these people with anything. Don't bother helping them with anything. Dude, if you got time, run a victory lap. If you got more time than that, go on vacation and not even be around these people. Your job is to build a life where you're not worried about the Delta November and what they're actually end up in at the end of the day. And look, you don't think Kevin Samuels would have been up there at Turning Point USA? You don't think Kevin Samuels would have went up there if had he would have lived long enough? And guess what? It would have been a business move, just like the Nicki Minaj's at 10. Business move. Yeah. End of the day, these people don't need no help. They don't need no help. They want a rescue operation to come through and save them from themselves. You don't save people from themselves, man. What you do is you give them the information, you step back. Boom. Say it again. You change your environment, things change. I did not get access to good women until I got my shit together. Not before. I could easily help my shit together, hanging around them clubbing environments, picking up those individuals trying to, doing other stuff. Yeah. I mean, like, who's convinced by Nicki Minaj's music at this point? Most of these men ain't even trying to deal with women at this point. Most of these men are trying to complain about women they can't get at this point. And here's the thing: she don't need the money. She made a ton of money from Cash Money off of these dudes who can't get with women. She made a ton of money off of these dudes. She don't need no money. Just like Amber Rose don't need no money. They went there because somebody wanted to weaponize them. Again, there ain't nothing wrong with the space. There's nothing wrong with the space. It's just like there ain't nothing wrong with a library. If a library is built, you turn around and it's a comedy festival or an entertainment hall by the time you came back, problem wasn't the library. That is the only dude who can have a fresh haircut and look like a naughty head dude all at the same time with a fresh haircut. I never seen a dude with a fresh lineup with a naughty ass fucking head, man. I just never seen that shit. I never seen it. Never seen it. AB Media is the first dude I've ever seen. And look, BGS being all up the ass of Candace Owens right now. All up the ass of Candace Owens. Just like he was all up the ass of actually Nick Fuentes. Just like he was all up the ass of what's the Kennedy dude? Yeah. Say it again. They always find another person to go around, to be wrong about. Look, I'm about to go home right now. And as soon as I fall through the Aurora Library, I'm going to go pick up like 10 movies and put them bitches in the mail after I'm done with them. Because you can lease out movies from the actual library. Yeah, say it again. All these people. All of them. Man, look. Not at that level. Where she lives at, not at that level. I guarantee you she's probably doing fine. But I do get your point, but not at that level. And look, when you ain't got no money coming in and you used to make all that money, that's a lot of upkeep for that lifestyle. Look, I'm okay with her existing. It's just that when you have black manosphere misinformation artists try to get behind Candace Owens to try to pretend that she gonna do something for black boys that Nick Fuentes and Pearly Things didn't do. That's the real problem. Is people infinitely want to be in that trick bag and not knowing what's going on, man. They infinitely want to be there. Man, look. That house that she has in that area where she has it, dude, that's about 200K in upkeep a year. The worst thing is the dudes being on the computers. You know, the people who don't bring their own computer. Bruh, what are you doing with your life, man? What are you doing with your life? But look, there's enough sexless men to go around for these simp stations, man. One simp station after another, after another, after another. There's never going to be enough. These simp stations going to be everywhere, man. Come and pour your thirst here. You're not going to get anything back. But by all means, put all your thirst here. Unbelievable. Listen, most of these people in society you would never come in contact with in the real world. And even if you did, you wouldn't even be around them that much. This online thing have created far worse people than the better people that could have been created here. Remember, this was the brand new opportunity that people used to be full of nonsense. This was the brand new opportunity, bro. Now, Candace Owens don't talk about solving no issues. She's a culture warrior. No, she don't talk about no actual. She don't talk about no actual policies. That's not her job. Yep, they sure do. I'm still doing research. I'm like, bro, you watching? I'm not gonna say his name online. You ain't got no computer, but you come to the library to hog up the computer so that way you can look at all this nonsense online. Bro, get out of here. Bro, get out of here. Dude, I never thought that city was ever gonna get off the ground. Ever. What's going on? What's going on? I never thought that city was gonna get off the ground. I never thought that. That Akon City nonsense. I never thought the city was gonna get off. It's gonna be all fun and games until that president of France get that lawsuit over with. Once that lawsuit hit her ass for about 10 or 15 million, you ain't gonna never see Candace Owens' ass again. Ever. As soon as that lawsuit is over with. As soon as that lawsuit is over, you just ain't gonna be able to slander no head of state, say his wife's a man and all that kind of stuff. Bruh. You better know what you're talking about. When they go to Discovery and you ain't got your stuff together, okay. No, I like Nick Taylor. Yeah, I like Nick Taylor. Is he still around? I see him sometimes in Super Slot 75's chat. Or maybe he changed his actual channel and I'm not subscribed to it. But yeah, I know he is. Yes, indeed. Yeah, for defamation. Yeah. Like conspiracy theories are all fun and games until you have to go prove that stuff in court. Oh no, she throwing MAGA under the bus right now. Nah, ain't nobody gonna come help her ass. I mean, like, once you get hit with that 10 or 15 million, yeah, yeah, that's gonna be some real money coming out your pocket. For real money. I'm even shocked that Alex Jones even got an actual suit that high against him. He had plenty of opportunity to do the right thing, but he still didn't. Calling people crisis actors who lost a child. Bro, how low are you as a human being? Look, if I'm married to Candace Owens, I'm not about to let 10 million go out the door because you're running your goddamn mouth. I look, we divorcing and you got to pay for that stuff on your own. We still gonna be together, but ain't none of that money coming out of my pocket. No, 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 no. Look, as soon as that judgment come down, I would announce a divorce immediately. Now, Candace, you got it. Nope. None, nothing that I built in my life is going toward that slander money that you owe. That's a you problem. So with that said, I want to thank you guys for coming through. We got one more political show on Sunday. Come out with some new stuff next year. Hold on a second. That's what people don't understand, man. Like that free speech stuff, like, bro, that free speech stuff is meant for nonsense. It is not set up for you to go to court. Yeah, that dude, Joe Rogan, man, he really jumped out the window for Trump, and look at how it screwed over all his followers, man. He really jumped out the window, calling Jake Paul the real deal as a fighter, and that dude got cleaned up by an actual fighter. An actual fighter. Unbelievable. With that said, next week we're gonna have Stanley Cross on, introduce him to the actual people here, so that way y'all can go over to his channel and subscribe to him, and actually just get other people on, man. There are more people here than non-functional individuals. I'm sick of these non-functional individuals coming here under the guise of entertainment and drawing the attention away from actual progress. Now, a lot of people can't progress, and that's their own problem and fault. But that doesn't mean that we can actually deal with people who can actually do things themselves as well. Listen, man, if you're trying to take somebody down as a clinch, what's going on, NC? If you're trying to take somebody down to the floor as a clinch, you're in serious trouble, bro. Yeah, I'm telling you right now, most of these people don't want answers to anything. The only thing they want is give me the answer, give me a turnkey solution, give me a business to wreck, ruin, and destroy, and why don't you step away? Nah, bro. Nah. Yes. You can give them all the answers in the world. Until the answers come into a turnkey solution with no responsibility on their part and they get full pay because of it, they're not gonna listen to you. Listen, you let these people again run victory laps, go on vacation, look at your bank account balance. Yeah, that shit's mine, and I ain't got to share that shit with nobody. You give them the information. That's what they want. They want to be handheld, dude. They want to be handheld through danger. Yeah. Look, man, move away like everybody else. Move away, get your stuff together. Don't worry about these people. You let them have their misinformation online. I'm telling you, dude, you can walk in there with the best, well laid things. Dudes will step over that argument like you didn't even have it and keep it moving right in your face. You see, most of these people are not trying to build stronger actual men. They're trying to weaken you so that way you can end up in the same circumstances those people are in. Don't fall for that. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. We'll tell you right now. The best success is not telling me, dude, just leave the space. Just leave the space. Leave. I've helped hundreds of people be disconnected from this nonsense. You don't owe me anything. Just have a better life and have better outcomes. So when you're on vacation for the holidays and you ain't got to deal with BS family, you can be like, look, I'm having fun now. Home Depot, Lowe's, the Workforce Center, most convention centers have things on the weekend. Listen, Eric Bird, if these people wanted to be productive, if they wanted these actual jobs that they claim that immigrants are taking away from them, they would already be there. They would already be there. Dude, I have people still trying to tell me that trucking is going to be automated someday. The same people who don't have cell phone service all over the country is trying to tell me that the government is going to create the situation for an 80,000-pound vehicle to go down the highway and not disconnect from a server. The same people who want to be talked out of opportunities. Bro, leave them out there. Leave them out there. People who are weak enough to stay with them out there, let them stay. Dude, you can move by yourself. Listen, when you close that door, even if it's in a bad neighborhood, look, I understand a bunch of bad neighborhoods. Look, that shit's mine. They all do. It's posted on the wall as soon as you walk in. Say it again, Goshen. And here's the thing. They're not going to miss you when you're gone. There are plenty of people who want to hang out with these losers. Trust me. When I went back home, these dudes who's hung on the corner was the same dudes out there in the 90s. There's a couple more people who's there now, but it's still the same main group of people. Their skill is waiting on somebody to put them on. That's their skill. Their skill is actually waiting for somebody to take pity on them, to treat them as if they're so weak and lame and stupid, right? No. $30 years. 30. 30. 30. 30 years. Because first you got to build the infrastructure for that. Like, we don't even want to put asphalt on the roads. And we're talking about wireless cars, trucks on the road? Well, we can't even lay asphalt in a flat manner or on highway? We can't even lay asphalt on the roads, and these people talk about driverless cars. You're probably going to get the driverless car thing for a while before you get driverless semi-trucks. You would know because we would be running these driverless trucks off the road. We would be running these driverless trucks off the road. If it was really a problem, dude, we'd be like, oh, okay, this company's doing that. This company's on the test run. Hey, look, we're about to run this dude off the road. That's right. We're about to run this dude all the way off the road. That's what would happen. There would be a ton of sabotage going on if it was actually true, but it's not. It's nowhere near here. We can't even get snow off the highway in this country unless you live in like a liberal area, your Bostons, your Pittsburghs, your, New York Cities, your Baltimores in some cases. They can get the snow off the ground. Same areas, conservative areas, they don't even bother doing the roads. And it's getting even in higher demand right now because all these 4 o'clock truckers are being put out of business. The 4 o'clock trucker is 4 p.m. They're complaining about the status of the market, and they already sitting in the food court. Didn't even drive the rest of the day. Yeah, those people are not worried. That's what I'm saying, bro. High speed, dude. We don't even have 5G across the country. There's no way they can be able to do autonomous trucking. It's not possible. And the only people who's going to be able to afford those trucks are those actual large distribution centers. Your Walmarts, your Publix, your Ingles, those are the only people who are going to be able to afford that. The normal person is not going to be able to afford that. That's what I'm saying. Say it again. Say it again. Listen, man. Y'all have a nice one. I'll see you guys tomorrow night for the actual political show. Thanks for coming through. And look, there are far worse people in the Manosphere. They're just useless men online. You have to understand that turning on the internet connection and talking about nonsense is super easy. That's what I'm saying. It ain't just the initial cost, it's the upkeep. That upkeep is going to be brutal. All right, y'all have a really, really nice one. Make sure you like the video on the way out. Make sure y'all stay up for the tomorrow night stream. Later.